Now, we have seen the rise of the Mauryan Empire, and we are going to see some of the dynasties which comes up before the rise of the Guptas. Now, some of the dynasties, the Sungas, the Kanvas, the Parthians, the Sakas, etc. We will not be going into details on these, but important dynasties that comes up before the rise of the Guptas is the Kusans or the Kusanas. So let us study in brief about the Kusanas. The Kusans under Catfish I he defeated the Sakas ruler and founded or established the Kusans rule. The most important ruler of Kusanas is Kanishka. Kanishka is the most important rulers of the Kusanas. Now, the capital city of Kusanas is at Peshawar. The capital city is at Peshawar. And the rule of Kusanas marks the beginning of what is known as Saka era in 78 AD. So the rule of Kanishka marked the beginning of what is known as Saka era in 78 AD. Now let us see some of the achievements or the contributions of Kanishka. The first features on Kanishka is who supported the divine rights of king. This means the king is the right hand, or the king is appointed by God and he is the right hand of the king. Number two, he was the great patron of learning. He was the great patron of learning. Great scholars like Asvaghosa, Vasumitra, and Nagarjuna, etc., they stay in his court. Number three, his rule witnessed the development of Mahayana Buddhism and the development of Gandhara art. So during Kanishka period, Buddhism rose to a great extent, as well as the Buddhist style of arts and architectures, which is known as Gandhara art, also developed during the time of Kusanas. Now we shall move on to Gupta Empire. What are the sources of Gupta's empire? Some of the important sources of the Gupta's empires are the Puranas, the Allahabad pillar inscriptions, the Smriti, Dharmasastra. These books are some of the important books on the sources of Gupta Empire. The founder of Gupta Empire was Sri Gupta. Sri Gupta. But the real founder was considered to be Chandragupta Maurya I, because it was under Chandragupta Maurya I that the empire expanded and consolidated its power. Let's say under Chandragupta I married the Lichavi queen by the name Kumar Devi, and through matrimonial alliances he expanded his empire. Then after Chandragupta I, Samudragupta ascended the throne. During the reign of Samudragupta, the Gupta Empire attained supremacy equals to the Mauryas, and his kingdom extended or covered the whole of northern, almost the whole of northern part of India, and it also extended to some parts of the southern India. Then we have Chandragupta II. He was a great conqueror. He fought against the Sakas rule. Then Kumaragupta. Then the last important rulers is Sikandragupta. The last great Gupta's ruler is Sikandragupta. After the death of Sikandragupta, the Gupta Empire began to decline and gradually collapsed. So this is the political history of the kings of Gupta dynasty. Let's see the social conditions of Guptas. The Gupta society is divided into caste system and Varnas. Now the society is divided into Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. The Brahmanas, they are the highest class in the society. They are mostly of priests. The religious class. The Kshatriyas, they are the second class in the social hierarchy. They are the warriors and kings. The Vaishyas, they are professionals. People who are into specific job, people who are skilled in a specific areas. They are Vaishyas. And the Sudras, they are the workers. Apart from this, Fahin, Chinese travelers who stay in the court in the Gupta's empire, he says that apart from these four classes, there are classes like the Chandalas. They are the untouchable class of society. So these Chandalas are outcasts. They are not allowed to stay inside the city. They are slaves. They are the workers. They are the scavengers, and they mostly reside outside the town. Number one. The second important point is practice of untouchability. Untouchability during the Gupta period was very rigid. Then they practiced slavery, Slavery was very common. It was an accepted institutions. Polygamy. A man is allowed to have one or more wife. That is polygamy. This is also a system which is followed during the Gupta's period. We have sati, where a widow is burned on the funeral pyre of the husband, etc. So these are some of the social practice that is carried out during the Gupta period. The third point on the social conditions of Guptas, conditions of women. Now, during the Gupta's period, the women enjoy certain favorable freedoms, it says. Now, women are not discriminated. The fourth point is the Gupta follow joint family system. So these are some of the important points to be noted on the social conditions of Guptas. Now we move on to the development in science and technology in the Gupta periods. Science made a great progress during the Gupta period, and scholars made great contributions in the field of astronomy, in the field of mathematics, in the field of medicines during the Gupta period. One notable mathematicians, astrologers worth mentioning is Aryabhata. So the role of Aryabhata in the Gupta period is very important. Now let us see what are the contributions of Aryabhata. Aryabhata was the first mathematician who treat mathematics as a totally distinct subject. So he was the first mathematician to treat mathematics as a distinct subject. Secondly, the second point, Aryabhata, he was the first to discover the place value of the first 9 digits, and also who invented the zeros. To discover the first 9 digits of numbers and he was also the first Indian astronomer who declared that the earth was sphere. The first the earth was a sphere. The fourth point on the contribution of Aryabhata, he was also the first to describe the causes of solar and lunar eclipse. The first describe the causes of solar and lunar These are the contributions of Aryabhata. Not only this, science and technology developed to a great extent during the Mughal period. We're going to see more of what are the features. Apart from Aryabhata, another important scholars who contributed is Varahamihira. Varahamihira. Medical science also made a great progress during the Gupta period. the medical science are quite developed, that they have the knowledge of surgery, dissection, etc. Also, the science of metallurgy chemistry and physics also flourish. The discovery of several copper statue of Buddha clearly states or represents the triumph of metallurgy skills during the Gupta period. Let's see the religious conditions of the Gupta period. Now, the Gupta, they followed a religious tolerance, a policy of religious tolerance. Though the Gupta rulers are mostly Hindu rulers, they accept the Buddhist and the Jain to exist in the state. So they follow a policy of religious tolerance. Apart from this, another important aspect of this is like during the time of Samudragupta, he allowed the Ceylon ruler to set up monasteries in his kingdom. So, due to the policy of religious tolerance, we can see the growth of Jainism and Buddhism in the Gupta states. So, the growth of this Buddhism and Jainism greatly threatened Hindu religion, and therefore the Hindu religious people, they are determined to reform as well as to strengthen religion. There was a growth of Hindu religion during the Gupta period. In fact, the period is known as the blossoming period of Hindu religion. So it was in this particular period, the Brahmanical religion of Hindu was reformed to become Hinduism. So it was during the Gupta period that the Brahmanical form of religion, or the Brahmanical faith was transformed into what is known as modern Hindu religion or modern Hinduism. This is all on the religious conditions of the Guptas. With this, we conclude the chapter 2 of pastoral history. Thank you.